Hello Pisces, welcome to Dumela Universe. We are Kemet, thank you so much for joining us. This is for the Sun, Moon and Rising sign of Pisces. And Pisces, this is your weekly reading for the 30th of October to the 5th of November 2023. Pisces, let's see what's coming through for you at this time. Have a beautiful week, Pisces. Have a glorious one. We trust you are well, Pisces. Okay, for Pisces, let us see what's coming through 30 October, 5 November 2023. Freedom. Okay. Okay, Pisces, yes. You are coming to a profound perception shift, a shift in understanding, a shift in perspective, a shift in how you see yourself, in how you view your life, in a understanding. There is a core frequency, there's a baseline way of understanding and belief that is being completely reprogrammed this week to source. You have been doing quite a lot of work, Pisces, to release and to cleanse and to heal and to upgrade and to really tap into source like never before. And right now you're at this point where the energy of source manifesting in the physical is more dominant than the physical of the source of illusion and the physical realm of illusion, right? And so if you can imagine, if you can imagine, Pisces, you are trying to, there's a building, right? And you are trying a building of illusion which has always been there. And now you need to rewire or rechange this whole building to a building of source, right? You will take everything off, releasing the wiring, the plumbing, everything else, right? And you've released the plumbing, you've released the wiring, you've released everything. But there is still the very, very base, maybe concrete, base building blocks, the very key foundation. That's always the last to go, right? The very tiny layer on the floor. Even if you think of baking, right? When you are baking a cake and you're taking the cake out of the tin, yeah, you will slowly, well, of course you're going to put your non-stick stuff on, but you will slowly try to, with a knife or with the baking paper, move it so that the crust at the very bottom, the very, very bottom, cannot stick to the pan, right? So imagine the little crust that's stuck to the bottom, that very, very foundation, the very base, it's the very bedrock, the beginning points of it, right? That is being reestablished, because that's the last thing to go. That's the very last thing to go, right? When you're taking out the cake, what's left in the crumb, what's left in the tin, the very foundation where maybe it was stuck. So it is that is getting reestablished, that is getting reprogrammed this week. It is interesting because Source is saying, for the most part, it is a belief or a understanding which you are not really aware of, because it is something that was the first thing you ever received when you were a child energetically, right? And then everything else put on top of it. So energetically, the very first thing you experienced when you were born, energetically by that environment, boom, that's the first thing you received. And then from there, everything else piled on top of it. And that very first energetic thing you received, that imprint of how you create in the physical reality, is being rewired to source physical creation. That is the best way we can describe this. And it is aligning. And as soon as it shifts, as soon as this coding is done, you are having a completely different outlook on life, on existence, on you, on source energy, on everything. On everything. Even your relationship with source changes. How you view source, what source is to you. And source is saying, do not be frightened or think, oh no, now you're losing it, or think, oh dear, I've done something wrong and source is now disconnected. Oh no. We become more free as you become more free. And the more free you are, the less you sort of need us around to be. And it doesn't mean we're not there. We are absolutely there to assist you. We're absolutely there to guide you. But you also understand that you are source creating and you're here to discover. So to have us always there defeats the purpose, defeats the point. Imagine those animal shows, National Geographic or Discovery, when they go into the wild and they observe the natural habitat of whatever being they are observing. They don't interfere, right? We had a time of interference where we came in, and it wasn't interference because we were doing it without your wanting. The human collective, the human energy asked us to come here, so we came through. And you then, beautiful beings who came through, asked us to assist you to come to source, so we came through to assist you to come back to source. That is what happened with the transmutation period, you going into the chrysalis, the cocoon, releasing everything, and now being in your power. And now we're saying goodbye. We are no longer needed to guide you to source. You are at source. And because of that understanding, you're no longer needing to reach for source. You simply are at source. So all you now are to do is to discover. So it doesn't matter what you do, where you go, or what you do in this physical world. You will never ever do something which would harm you in a bad way. You would feel it. You have been shown what's harmful and what isn't harmful through the frequencies of the teachings of your guides and spirit through source. So now innately you know very well what doesn't serve you and what serves you, and what is to be released and what isn't to be released, and what, how to release judgment. You've really been shown how to embody source, the source of you, very uniquely your frequency. And so because you are now operating from source, the understanding of source, the programming of source, the perception of source, all of it is being rewired, reprogrammed, including that very first imprint of energy, because you were born into a world of condition. So the first thing that was imprinted energetically by everybody else was their own views, their own ways upon you, what they thought of you. Even before you were born, you were already given a name. You're already in people's dreams. People already had visions for you. They'd already decided your clothing. They'd already decided your bedroom. They'd already decided where you're going to live, because it's the house you were born in. Do you understand? Everything is just already given in this conditioned sense. And so you have gone through a rebirth when all of that energy, whatever the energy the physical realm had put upon you at that moment of birth, is now being released. Even when you're in the womb, the energy put upon you when you're in the womb is being released. Okay. Even the energy before you even conceive, because humans already had an understanding of children, even before you were born, even before your parents had met, when there were girls and when there were boys, and when they were growing up, they already had an ideas about their children, you see. So it is all of that energetic echoing and interference of perception and condition and rules and regulation, which was just already here before you even took the bus to earth. That is being completely released, renewed, and you are now in this space as source, in this physical realm, without any energetic imprint, because you're not allowing anybody's perception to now interfere with how you be any given moment, any given day. You no longer care about other people's ways of being, and it doesn't mean you don't care about them. You just no longer give anybody permission to direct how you should be, or how you should present yourself, or who you should be. Nobody can now, nobody has the power over you. Absolutely none. That's how free you are. And that is allowing a huge shift. And that's what you're going through now. So as you're having the shift, yes, your understanding of source and the guides and the spiritual team might change, and will change, not even might, will change. And source is saying, don't freak out when you are now feeling them in a different way, when you're now engaging with them in a different way. Especially in the way that's very different from how spirit engages with them. Because remember, spirit came through to assist you to feel the frequency of source in the physical. And now that you are at source, it's time for you now to feel how that organically feels without you being guided there, but you simply just being there, right? Another way, you can lead a horse to water, and the way and the route you lead that horse is beautiful and safe and powerful because you're there guiding the horse down each and every single track to reach the water, and it's wonderful. The next day, the horse will now take its own way, and there is a huge difference between the way that you have led them and the way they take on their own. Even if they take exactly the same steps, exactly the same pathway, it's a very different experience because you're no longer leading them, they're leading themselves. They're experiencing the energies themselves completely in their own understanding and their own integration. Okay. You are learning what source is completely on your own without any guidance or instruction from the physical, any guidance or instruction from spirit, any guidance or external instruction from external source energies, other people's frequencies. You are literally learning from your own source. And that's huge. And that's a huge freedom, and it changes quite a big perception on how you see things, the collective and this experience. It allows a lot more releasing of... There's an acceptance. You no longer... You release the resistance of being here. There's an acceptance of the space of why you're here, of others and how they be and why they be the way they are. You are finally as source, so you are no longer observing this experience through the human reactionality of that's fair, that's not fair, why did I do this, why are others like this and I'm not like this. You're no longer engaging in that comparison or that competitiveness. You just see everything as source now, and you understand everything at source as it means to be at source. And you're releasing yourself to be at source, to discover what your source is all about. And if you look at this picture, your source is definitely about very incredible, miraculous, beautiful things which are definitely not seen in this world. Not yet anyway, not in the fifth dimension. So really be open to this new world that source is showing you. Okay, we're opening with the Five of Cups and the Four of Cups. Yes. Again, this is that releasing. There is a perception, there's an understanding, and it's allowing a releasing of everything, really, of how you see your life, how you see source, how you see reality. And it's an attachment. It doesn't feel sad, like, oh no, you're now sad at how you are releasing, or you are sad at how you are viewing things. It doesn't bring a heartache. It might be interesting maybe to see, how can we say, it's not a sadness, but it is an attachment, because it is something or a way of seeing, a way of agreement you had with the physical of illusion for such a long time. That now that you're releasing that agreement you made with the illusion, you can feel this sense of loss, that you are losing a huge part of self, a huge part of identifying, of identity. There's an aspect of yourself which you are no longer carrying with you, right? And Source is saying, What is lost, you are now going to receive from the unknown. You are finally releasing the way in which this physical earth, the illusion, had instructed you or had taught you how you would receive. And now you're in a space of receiving purely from source energy and from the unknown. You're about to receive a whole new identity, a whole new understanding, a whole new existence, a whole new expression. And it allows freedom. It's a complete transformation, and it feels very this is transcendence. It's very transcendental. You are ascension, transcendental. You're really shifting to a different frequency of creative being, of expression, of being. Your essence, your soul matrix is ascending. And it's quite a shift, okay? Which is why you might be feeling a little bit emotional at this time, or a lot of past things coming up that you're releasing again, some physical discomfort, some ascension symptoms, some you're just feeling maybe a bit tender, a bit irritable some days, a little bit tired and drained, and no matter what you're doing, you just seem to not be able to just get into that balance again. And that's simply because you're going through this shift, this fundamental reboots, this hard reset, and your physical aspect is just catching up to all of the programming and the reprogramming that you are finally allowing to take place. Okay. It feels like you are releasing and you are receiving, and that is why it is such a shift. It is not you are releasing and then you have a bit of time to process, and then you are receiving. No, this is a fundamental thing that's required for you to exist. This key element that's shifting, right? So you are releasing and receiving simultaneously, which is why it feels a bit disorienting, like you're in a few worlds at the same time. You're feeling it might be a bit disoriented or just a little bit fatigued. It's because it is an uninstall and an install, and a releasing and an installing, and a purging and integrating at the same time. Okay. Three of Stones, to your stability. This is what's happening. You're finally coming to your ultimate stability, grounded in source, in you. And Three of Pentacles means that now what you are receiving, because you're on this path of receiving, you can now finally build upon it. So this new framework, this new grid, this new essence, this new creation matrix you are receiving, this new imprint you are receiving from source, you can now finally build upon it, and what you're building upon it is stable, right? Because the imprint you were born into in this physical world, in the illusion, it wasn't stable. It was born of fear, other people's way of doing things. So before you even began, you were already on a downward spiral because you're already creating through somebody else's illusion to begin with. So now finally you're creating on your own true frequency of source. So anything that you're receiving from now onwards is literally being built on source, on you, on truth, on existence. And so it is stable and it is grounding. And source is saying stability will return. A lot of you have been yearning for stability in your life. It feels like you've been so many years just not being stable, even a lot of you from your birth, and that's what it feels like from the very beginning of your journey. And yes, this applies to everyone, right? But Pisces, you are very, very spiritual. The ones who are connected to this reading, you are very older souls. So and you require a very high point, a very purified state of source to really start getting your things going, right? Other people in the world, you can see they can sort of have a bit of instability in their life and they're shining brightly. Whatever's happening is just happening regardless. They have other ways in which they need to heal and teach. But for you, Pisces, it's that fundamental core frequency. It has to be from source. That is your fundamental teaching. From source to physical, right? The two fish swimming, one in spirit, one in physical. From source to physical. That is your teachings. You have to be pure within the frequency and then create. And so because that is your teaching, Pisces, as soon as you were born, all of that energy which is unstable really impacted a lot of your experiencing. Okay, and in a way where you couldn't build things, or you couldn't really establish things, or especially things you wanted. Maybe finances was good, but relationships you couldn't really get going, or relationships were good and then finances you couldn't get going, or some of you, all of the stuff you couldn't get going. Others of you, it's health. Others of you, it's maybe romance, maybe it's family. So it's just there's some aspect of your life where you just could not get it going no matter what you did. And for some of you, it was in all areas which really couldn't get established and get going. And now finally, with the Three of Pentacles energy, with you having this major reset, you are finally able to build a solid foundation, build a solid career, build a solid family, home for yourself first and foremost, build relationships. Everything is now coming in a way which is finally stable and whole. And here they come in. You see, here we are, your desires and your dreams finally coming in. They're coming in because they're coming in from the unknown. You're finally releasing. You are releasing the last net that's been withholding, catching your desires and keeping them in the illusion. Okay, whatever that last filter was, whatever that last barrier was, it's going, and it feels like it was the key. It's we're receiving. It was the key fundamental frequency you imprinted when you came into this physical reality. The first thing that was just placed upon you energetically. That's what's finally being peeled away. And so it's quite deep and it's quite innate, which is why it isn't something you could consciously try release. It had to happen when the releasing you had been doing was so strong and so overpowering, it almost yanked it off. In your momentum to source creation, it could not hold on any longer. And now this week it is literally being pulled off. It's disintegrating. It's releasing. Very, very interesting. And it brings in dynamic changes for you in the physical. Wow. Six of Thunder. The Six of Swords. Healing, moving, finally transitioning. Six of Swords, moving, movement, right? And we love here how it's the whales, so that water energy for you too, even if though it is the swords energy. And you are now moving to harmony, to peace, to healing. Look at that moon coming in. Blessings, illumination, clarity, to where, look at you, open, nude and naked, to the truth of you. That rebirthing, and it's literally feels like what we were saying, a new imprint. You're imprinting this new energy, and there you are, naked, being born again, being reborn again now as physical source, and having this new imprint, right? 5 to 6, even the numerology 5, 6, look, releasing that old imprint and being embedded with a new one. And look, there we go. From that new moon, releasing to this full moon, receiving completely now, coming into your fullness, coming into your power. Very, very interesting, Pisces. And we see here on the floor 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 here, 25, so you've got double 7 and a beautiful progression, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You are literally moving, finally progress, progression of numbers, a progression of experience. You are finally flowing, and it is powerful and beautiful. Just be easy with yourself, be gentle with yourself. It does feel like a very beautiful, profound time, Pisces. And know that you have done nothing wrong. That's what's coming through very strongly from Spirit. We feel that the shift in energies can for some of you be quite an extreme shift, that you might think, oh, did I not meditate, or did I jump too many portals at the same time? You might be feeling, ooh, that's a very sudden jump and I feel very, very different. What's happening? And it's also saying you're coming right back into your base, and it just takes some time for you to acclimatize to it and enjoy finally now being able to build and build this. Yeah, you're finally able to build in the physical realm. Blessed be.